When Amina first heard the whispers, she thought it was the wind playing tricks on her. But when the lantern in her hand began to flicker, and the shadows on the wall started to move, she realized something sinister was calling her. It wasn't the wind. It was the mansion. Amina was a strong-willed young woman in a small, quiet village surrounded by misty hills and dense forests. Everyone in the village knew about Gidan Duhu, the House of Shadows, but no one spoke of it openly. It was said to be cursed, abandoned after Malam Nasir and his family disappeared one stormy night. The legend of Gidan Duhu was a warning whispered to children to keep them from wandering too far. But Amina never believed in curses. She had no time for such tales. Life had been hard since her parents passed, leaving her to care for her younger siblings, especially her brother Musa. Then the strange events began. One evening, Musa came running into the house, trembling. "The shadows," he stammered, pointing to the window. "They are watching me." Amina dismissed it as a child's imagination, but later that night, as she lay awake, she heard the whispers for the first time. They were faint but chilling, calling her name. "Come closer. The shadows are waiting." She sat up, her heart pounding. The air felt heavy, and the lantern by her bedside flickered. She told herself it was nothing, just her tired mind playing tricks. But when she found Musa's favorite toy outside the house the next morning, lying in the dirt near the forest path, she knew something wasn't right. She decided to seek answers. Amina visited Baba Asman, the village elder. His heart was filled with books and trinkets, remnants of the past. When she told him about the whispers and the shadows, his face grew grave. "You've heard the call of Gidan Duhu," he said. "It hasn't done that in years. The last time was when Malam Nasir disappeared." Amina frowned. "But why now? Why me?" Baba Asman handed her an old journal. The cover was cracked, and the pages were filled with strange symbols and notes. "This belonged to Malam Nasir," he said. "The mansion's curse feeds on fear and broken promises. It has chosen you for a reason. If you go, you must be prepared. The shadows will try to claim you." Despite his warnings, Amina couldn't ignore the feeling that the curse was spreading, endangering her family. Armed with the journal and a silver dagger Baba Asman gave her, she set out at dusk, heading toward Gidan Duhu. The mansion stood at the edge of the forest, its broken windows and crumbling walls like gaping mouths. As she stepped inside, the air grew colder. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind, felt like a warning. In the parlor, she found a faded family portrait of Malam Nasir and his children. Their eyes seemed to follow her as she moved. The whispers grew louder. "Light the shadow's path, or lose what you love most." She opened the journal, flipping through its cryptic entries until one phrase stood out: "The curse ends with a willing heart." Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. It was tall and formless, its voice a low, guttural growl. "You should not have come," it said. Amina raised her lantern, its light flickering as the shadow loomed closer. Her hands trembled, but she held her ground. "What do you want from me?" she demanded. The shadow pointed at the journal. Amina realized it wasn't just a curse, it was a broken pact. Malam Nasir had made a deal with the shadows, but he had failed to keep his end of the bargain, dooming his family and the mansion. To break the curse, Amina had to face the shadows' test. Guided by the journal, she recited an old lullaby her grandmother used to sing. "Light the shadow, burn the fear, bring the dawn and make it clear." The shadow screamed, its foam cracking as the lantern's light grew brighter. Amina continued singing, her voice steady despite her fear. Finally, with a blinding flash, the shadow shattered into fragments of darkness, and the mansion began to collapse. Amina barely escaped, stumbling out as the cursed house crumbled into dust. The whispers stopped, and the forest grew quiet. When she returned to the village, she placed the journal on Baba Asman's table. "It's over," she said, her voice firm. The shadows are gone. Baba Asman nodded, but his eyes held a warning. The mansion is gone, but shadows have long memories. Be vigilant, child. The village was safe, but Amina knew the story of Gidan Duhu would linger, a reminder of the courage it took to face the darkness, and the cost of broken promises.